On today's episode of Locked On Avalanche, we are still talking about that Avalanche Dallas Stars overtime game. One of the things we're talking about, because these two teams likely will meet in the first round, should the NHL finally address this playoff format? Let's talk about that and a lot more. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli, with me as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. If you want to get in on the conversation, join our subtext. The link is in the show notes below. Chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. Get your opinion, everything Avalanche related, and share it on this very podcast. We will get our subtext crew's thoughts on that, on the playoff format. And does it need some tweaking or a complete overhaul, or is it just fine the way it is? We'll talk about that in a little bit, but like we always do after the show, after a game, kind of revisit it briefly, and anything that is still sticking with us the morning after a game like this. Anything specific for you, sir, that's still rattling around the old Shaggy Von brain?
Yeah, I think we have finally had the proving point, and I think it's a narrative that we did not address really in that Stars game. I think Valeri Nichushkin is the most vital piece of this Colorado Avalanche roster. Fight me.
I don't think anybody will.
I like, it is a night and day difference when this man is with the team and when he's not. And also, we got so carried away with number 96 that we forgot this is also a little revenge game again for Val. And he had a solid 2-point night. And this team just plays completely different, and he does not command the limelight. No matter what his efforts are. Like, he's almost a point per game player, and he missed a good chunk of the year. And he just never commands that limelight because, again, there's so many stars on this team. I think it's finally time that we need to just give the man his flowers, and like, he's legit. He is a force to be reckoned with. I know we have Cale Makar, Nathan MacKinnon, generational players, incredible years, but Val is the heart and soul of this team, and honestly, is the battery that keeps this thing going.
Yeah, I think for the longest time, we said, in Avalanche world, Mikko Rantanen was the most like underappreciated player, star, however you want to categorize him, in the league, and he's been in the news a lot lately. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. Nope. But I think, you do hear people talking about him differently over the years and appreciating him more on a wider scale than just in Colorado. I think Val Nichushkin has taken that role of Mikko Rantanen, and he doesn't like doing interviews. We kind of joke about it when he does get like the first star and he has to do that on ice interview. It's one question and I'm out. You're not getting the three questions that are typically asked. He doesn't like it. And because of that, he's not a household name. He's not in social media a lot. If he's in the media, it's for the wrong reasons. Yeah. The past couple of years. So, but the numbers are what they are when he is in the lineup and not in the lineup, and they just keep trending in that direction. They haven't changed. They haven't stopped. They haven't turned a corner where they've evened out or anything like that. That's how much of a difference maker he is for this team, and it's wild. So yeah, and we've said it all year long, Kyle. Once he comes back and he starts doing his thing, none of that will matter until you get to the postseason. Mm-hmm. Because once round one, game one starts, there's going to be beaming eyes on him every single day. And people are going to wake up in the morning and be like, am I going to wake up and check my phone and I got bad news for 3 years in a row? That's just the reality of it. I'm rooting for him. I love that. And I've always been rooting for him. You can go back to our episodes in the off season where people were wanting to throw him to the wolves, get him out of town. I'm not built that way. I like seeing redemption stories. I root for people like him. And it is nice to see that over the course of the year, you have seen people change their mind on him. And there's probably even more that don't want to admit it, but have changed their mind internally and are rooting for him again. So, but again, the playoffs are going to be where it all comes down and it all matters for him.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up, because I was very 50-50 before the season started on what they should do with this contract. And honestly, after efforts like you saw against Dallas, I mean, you want to see him run the race all the way to the end with his team this year. If he does, the narrative starts to shift on Val a little bit. And I he is going to be, like we were talking about players, we're doing the mailbag episode, players you want to bring back. Dead Marsh always has that resonance with us because of his hustle and heart and what he brought to the team. Val is going to be the next generation like Dead Marsh. He was that good. He is a battery, and he's going to be a lot. I want to see him do that redemption arc, stay with the team, and start building, and then the legend is going to grow from there. But it's that we're watching the rebirth and the reboot of the Val Nichushkin story.
And he's gonna where it's gonna be the most difficult for him is on the road, because he's gonna hear it from opposing fan bases and probably even some players maybe ripping on him. You know what I mean? So that's where he's really got to keep the focus. So you're 100% right with him. For me, there was I guess two things, but maybe they can be rolled up into one. Avs are 1 for 5 on the power play. And I know Dallas has the best. I think they're number 1 in the league for penalty kill. And that just goes to show you how important it is. I know that if they're number 1, I think number 1 or number 2, that might be number 1. But if you can, it shows you how important special teams are. And that's nothing new. That's not breaking the mold at all. But in games like this and everything that happened in this game, you're going to kind of push it out a month and say okay, what the Avs did in this game, they need to do this a little bit better. Because I thought, Kyle, for playing a team that's as good as Dallas, one of the best teams in the league, I thought the Avs played as perfect of a game as you can play against a team with that caliber talent. And look what happened. They had to go to overtime. So so you break it down into the little things, and you don't need to really make it to convolute everything. No, we're 1 for 5 in the power play, and if you can just make that 2 for 5, we're getting the 2 in regulation. So it's those little things that the Avs, I think, just need to make even better. And that's crazy to say because I love how they played against one of the best teams in the league, and you still needed overtime to get past them. And so that's kind of what's sticking with me today is I love how they played, but man, this is going to be a dogfight in first round.
Yeah. And to your point, yes, they are tied for first in penalty kill with the Carolina Hurricanes at 84.5%. 2, you see that the Avalanche we've seen that the power play is new and fresh with the addition of Natchez. And of course, Coyle and Nelson, once they really start establishing a role, you're going to see that a little bit better. But in that Dallas game, the Avs were winning faceoffs. And what better way to attack on the power play than to constantly have possession and win those crucial faceoffs when they matter? And it's been a while since we said, hey, this power play is looking good and they're winning faceoffs. So the ingredients are there. They're just trying to put the entire soup together.
Yeah. And winning faceoffs clean too.
Yeah.
There were some that it was, no doubt about it. And it's when it was over and over and over again. I think I had the stats up, but it was close to 60-40. I want to say, I think it was over 55%. I know that they were winning them. So good job there. But that's definitely what has stuck with me is it's not going to be a walk in the park. The NHL players playoffs are never a walk in the park. But when the game was just really in your hands and in your command, It's little things like, and I know it's a big ask of getting another power play goal, but maybe, if you just on that double minor, if you netted 2 there, it's a different outcome possibly. So those are the things that they have to really, when they are given an opportunity, when you are given 5 power plays, I don't care that it's the number 1 penalty killing team in the league. When you're given 5 power plays and you have a good power play, you have to convert on more than one against a team like Dallas to really put them away.
And you put that effort up with a backup goalie without Josh Manson, and you had Miles Wood and Jimmy Vesey sitting on the bench.
They have injuries too. Not making an excuse for them, but they have them. So you can play that game on both sides, and it's true. They can say like, well, we missed these guys. Well, we didn't have our number 1 goalie in either. So just hope everybody is back 100% when round 1 starts, and maybe we'll be 101%. Maybe we'll be 192%. Whoa! A little foreshadowing there. We'll get to that in a little bit. We're going to talk about that episode 2 of the Gabe Landeskog documentary. But this first round that we're talking about, it's got a lot of people it's talked about a lot anyway in the first round of the playoffs. This matchup specifically, I think, has people talking even more about if the NHL, sorry, I don't know why I have football on the brain. Why? The NHL should change the format, go back to the 1 versus 8. Let's talk about that. We got our crew from Subtext chiming into that as well. We'll do that next. Let's hear from Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, developing, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. And whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. And if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. And posting a job is free and simple. And within a day, with multiple qualified candidates, you'll have to choose from. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK, Upwork.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. All right. So like we said just a minute ago about the playoff format. A lot of people don't like it the way that it is right now. You have your 1, 2, and 3 in each division, and then 2 wild cards. Wild cards face off against the top number 1 seeds in each division, and then 2 and 3 in the division face off against each other. Used to be 1 through 8 and have at it. And a lot of people want to go back to that. Some people think it's fine the way that it is. And it usually gets brought up when something like what the Avalanche and Stars are going to experience happens, when you have that as a first round matchup. People are like, well, one of these 2 teams, a top tier team, is going to be out in the first round, which a lot of people are like, that's not good for the league. It will get a lot of people watching in the first round, but then one of these teams won't be playing for rounds 2, 3, and maybe even the Stanley Cup final. That's a month and a half of you're not seeing one of these solid teams. What say you? Are you okay with the playoff format as it currently is, or should they go back for examples just like this one?
Well, I mean, a little bit of both.
Okay.
Like, I understand, like, it's not going to be an ideal thing for the Avs, but I mean, we've seen these little 2-3 matchups. It's always like Dallas and St. Louis, or Dallas, like St. Louis, Minnesota. Like, we've seen these matchups a million times. But this year, the Central is beefier than we thought it was going to be, especially going into that trade deadline. It's a completely different looking Central, top to bottom. And everybody just kind of forgets about Winnipeg. Winnipeg's just on another level. I would like
they're
to
just
see
coasting right now, right?
Yeah.
They're just
they did what they had to do. They're coasting. They're fine. But I get it. It's not great. It's not ideal, but okay, boomer. That's how it used to be in the 90s too. It used to be Dallas. Always, it was Dallas, Detroit. That was ruining the Colorado Avalanche season. You would occasionally have a easy matchup. Like they used to have some tilts with San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. It's not favorable, but it's the playoffs. No matchup is really favorable.
Yeah.
You can't really, if you change it this year, the next year, it's not going to fall favorably. And then you're going to be like, oh, can we go back? Can we go back? It's just enjoy the quality of talent being really good in the Central where really no matchup is favorable. And by the way, Winnipeg, they're not even guaranteed with whoever they're matched up with because Winnipeg just hasn't proven it in the playoffs yet.
You're right about there's always going to be something to complain about. If you switch back to the 1 through 8, there's going to be a matchup that people don't like, and they're like, "Oh, that matchup wouldn't have been there if we had the old four." You know what I mean? So there's pluses and minuses to both of it. You do seem to get repeat matchups a lot in the first round, but I think there's something to be said for when you have like. I think a lot of people want to see Avs versus Stars.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to see Avs versus Stars in the conference finals. So when you have two teams kind of like on a crash course for, whoever wins that goes to the finals in any sport, people like to see that. Look in the NFL. Like we're looking forward to, always looking forward to Bills Chiefs, right? That seems to be the matchup right now. And the fact that that's not taking place in the first round, like that people don't want to see that in the first round. And because, once one of those two good teams are out, you still have a lot of good teams in this league. I'm not saying that, but it just seems those two teams put in so much work for the regular season. They should be awarded something further into the playoffs than one of them is a first round exit. So I get that, but it's almost unavoidable. Like it's because you're going to have that no matter what lineup you have, whether it's the current system or it's 1 through 8. I think it's just inevitable. So my question is this, Kyle, like, do we have to do an East versus West thing? I mean, you can do that for your divisions and your conferences, but when it comes playoff time, like, why don't we just have 1 through 16? And whoever one is, if one is a Western team and 16 is an East Coast team, they play each other. We're going into a tournament right now in college basketball that does that very thing. They don't seed by what conference that team is in. If that team is on the East Coast or West Coast, nobody cares. Nobody cares in the final who those two teams are in the final and if they're East or West Coast. But in almost every other sport, we do an East versus West thing. Is that a dated thing? Like, do we really need to do that? Shouldn't we just stay in those conferences for the regular season because we have to have some organization somehow. And then when the playoffs come around, it's the best versus the worst of the best in your 16th seed and have at it. Why not?
Like I hear what you're saying, and it would be cool and interesting. But the current playoff setup, honestly, isn't that bad. I
think it's terrible. I know people want to come down on it so hard. I don't think it's terrible.
And the thing is, like, when you are a good team playing the way you are, it doesn't matter who you're playing. If it's Vegas, if you get Winnipeg, if you're going for the cup, it doesn't matter. As soon as those playoffs start, we were talking about a couple weeks ago, every team kicks it up another notch. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if you're a wild card or not. Ask Boston a couple years ago how that goes. Like, it doesn't matter. It does. And you can't sit there and say, well, I feel great about my team, but I would really like this and I'd really like this. You can't cherry pick your way to you can't play the game that way. You win games, good things happen when you win games. When you don't win games, you go home. That's how it's always been. It doesn't matter what the bracket or the playoff scenario is. Win games, good things happen.
Totally agree. 100% agree. And I'm not sitting here saying like the the reason why I don't want a first round matchup with the Stars is because they're a difficult team, and I welcome that. I like that. I just go back to what I said of, it would be more of a selling point for the league when you knew these two teams, like if they, where they would meet is a conference final, and you can promote the heck out of that. And as they're going along in the playoffs, just drum up more interest. And now it's going to be one of these teams is out in the first round. It's unfortunate, but and if it didn't happen this year, it was going to happen next year, where you have two teams that are in the state that the Avs and Stars are. It's just the way sports are. Does it need a wholesale change? I don't think so. I'm with you, and I don't really think it does. The only thing, I wouldn't change it back to the 1 versus 8. I think I would, if I'm going to change it at all, it's a big change, and it's kind of something that I suggested to do. Throw out the East and West and just have your number 1 versus number 16 and just make it a bracket.
See,
why not?
If I had to change, I wouldn't do wild cards. I'd just filter them in. Just make it year 1 through whatever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even really worry about wild cards. Like, it's just, hey, you're the low man. You take number 1, survive.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're really going to change it. I don't know if this changes anything for them, but
honestly, like who remembers the first round once you get to the conference finals anyway? Like, it's you, the closer you get to the cup, the less you remember that first round, and you're just kind of glad it's all over.
Yeah. All right. I'm sure there'll be some people with their thoughts on that. We're going to get our subtext people's thoughts on it, and bring up the Gabe Landeskog documentary, episode 2. So we'll do all of that after this. So here from Game Time, there's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting on the court side, which there was one during the Knicks game, which did not go too well. If anybody saw that last night, ouch, I feel bad for him. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time, it makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's newest feature, Game Time Picks. It filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. We've used it. It works. Trust me, people. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDON, NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it, Mr. Shaggy Bandu?
It's game time.
Yes, it is.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Speaking of brackets, if you want to join our subtext, we got one going over there, people. And the winner is dubbed Mayor of Subtextia for a 1-year term limit. So join our subtext and get in on that bracket. I think you know who Kyle's going to pick. It's easy.
Hey, you.
What round did they get eliminated last? Because I picked them last year for you.
Yeah, I think they were Elite 8.
Was it? All right.
Yeah.
They'll go farther this year. All right, let's check in with our subtext people. They have thoughts on the playoff format. Let's see here. So we have Marie says, yes, it needs to be changed. The top teams should be playing each other later, like conference championships, not in the first round. Seed it the way the NFL does, with top seeds match against lower seeds, which increases the chances of having the biggest matchups in later rounds. I can't disagree with that.
I can't until I watch first round NFL playoff, and you watch that 1 versus matchup. It is abysmal. It's like, ask the Broncos how that goes.
Yeah, it's like the beginning of the season, the Hall of Fame game, which is just unwatchable. Maybe it's not that bad, but I agree with you.
Watching the Titans like squeak their way into the playoffs, and then it's a game for like half a quarter, and then you're just like, okay, whatever.
But this is not going to be that. Abs and Stars is not going to be that. So, Christina, we have a new subtext member. Christina, only one team wins the cup, regardless of format for playoffs. However, it gets annoying seeing the same teams play each other every postseason. Dallas is in our destiny for first or second round for the foreseeable future. 1 through 8 seeding would offer more variety in the postseason and give us a much needed break from Dallas. Plus, I just hate Dallas. That's what she said. Truth.
Well, hey, Christina, I hear what you're saying, but we were also annoyed with seeing Pittsburgh and Chicago in the playoffs and the finals all the time. And where are they now?
Well, but that's the finals.
Well,
that's the
they're not even Chicago and Pittsburgh aren't even in the playoffs this year.
No. I understand that. But what she said is true. Like, this is going to be our lives for the next decade. Of Dallas in the first or second round.
We didn't complain with Madonna and the Stars and the terrible Detroit Red Wings. So enjoy this renewed rivalry.
Vargar, absolutely 1v8 all the way. Reseed after every round, something they used to do. I hate the fact that they have a wild card just to be able to use the word.
Yeah.
If it's Colorado versus Dallas and Florida versus Tampa Bay in the first round, the NHL loses. That should have conference final potential. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think there's other fan bases and teams out there saying the same thing we are. Like Edmonton saying the same thing. Like we should be in a conference final against whoever. And you can use you can use that argument for so many teams. So I just think this is the one that people are honing in on and saying like that's just not right. These two teams. I think let me look at the overall standings. Your overall standings. Dallas is third overall right now, and Colorado is sixth. So you avoid that by doing my 1 through 16. And in the first round, the third, as it stands right now, the third best team in the league or the sixth best team in the league is getting eliminated. That's wild. That is wild.
It's just how the cookie crumbles.
I know. Brandon says something new. Do what the NFL does. First seed gets a bye. And seeds 2 through 7 face off. In a 7-game series, you're not having a team take up. That's like a 2-week vacation for a team.
Yeah, just you remember that weekend coming out of the Four Nations? I don't want the Avs taking any kind of
right. That's way too long. Lisa says, honestly, I've never liked the system. I want to see the 1 through 8 seed system back. Sure, this current system gives some really good series early, but I feel like having a good regular season and a higher seeding should allow you to play some, quote, easier opponents. The only thing I might change is I'm not sure the division winner should get an automatic 1 through 3 seed. It should strictly be points based.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of, I think it's the debate that's going to go on for a little while. And I haven't heard that the NHL is really even interested in changing any of this. This is purely fan service. But
hey, if the Avs would have got it together earlier this year, they wouldn't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And
here's the other interesting thing is whenever expansion comes along, we're probably expanding the playoffs as well. So it's not going to stay at 16. Some people want you have 32 teams. They want it expanded with 32 teams. I'm against that. That just waters down the regular season and just makes the regular season insignificant. You're just going to let in 20 teams and 12 teams miss it. Like the regular season has to stand for something.
Yeah.
And if you're just going to allow way more than half the teams in the league in, it just waters it down. And you think, they're struggling for ratings now, do that. And you're not going to get it. Ratings are going to just stagnate.
Oh yeah. Please sign me up for a Columbus Blue Jackets playoff game, baby.
Well, I don't want to take away from Columbus because that's a fantastic story,
but they're on the bubble.
People are going to want. They are. No, I know what you mean. But
Detroit's on the bubble.
That's the thing. You're going to get lesser teams that are getting into the playoffs. That's not what you want. That's just watering everything down. So, all right, let's finish things up with this Landeskog documentary. We got episode 2 in. What'd you think?
I watched it. I got to watch it live.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice, fascinating little insight on his journey and going through and getting to hear about his wonderful marriage. It must be
Yeah, I
nice to
know.
Landeskog. What? Wow, must be nice. And then his process of getting back, the setback, and then starting all over again. And like hearing that in his voice, like it sits and it resonates with you. And it's just like, wow, that's rough. That's tough. And then we see the clips we do today. And you're just like, oh.
Oh, I know. We'll get to that in a minute. But this episode was a lot of like personal stuff, like about, like his marriage, how he met his wife, which was kind of a funny story. And a lot of behind the scenes stuff with his kids and his son really getting into hockey and stuff like that. But they obviously mixed in with the injury throughout it, but a lot of it was just, his life. And again, he's getting very in depth with, and he's okay with inviting people into that side of his.
And his dad.
His dad is in it too. Yep. They interviewed his dad for a hot second. But they were showing the hockey related stuff when they were showing him working out, and it was only like 4.5 months after the surgery, and he's doing some pretty extensive stuff in the gym, some like wild like machines that you and I could never go on.
Nope.
But he's really pushing that thing. And in my head, like when you don't see stuff like that and you just read what's going on with him, and if there's one minor setback, we're right at square one. When you hear stuff like that, I just feel like in my mind, every single step that guy takes, he's watching where he's making sure there's not a kid toy on the ground.
Yeah.
That he's going to step on, you know what I mean? And then you see him doing like working out harder than you and I have probably ever worked out. And he's 4 months removed from surgery. So I'm watching that and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm cringing, but I'm also like smiling because like, wow, like, okay, like he was further along than any of us really knew, in that he was working out and he was getting the good sweat in, it looked like. But I'm also like, oh God, like one wrong move on that thing where he's just going back and forth and we're right back to square one.
Yeah, like I have bad knees currently from playing soccer, and every day when I go to work at the school, I look at that elevator. I'm like, today's the day I'm not doing the stairs.
So there is a part where he kind of asks why he doesn't just walk away. It's not about the money. He's got more money than he'll need for his life. And he's married. He's got 2 kids and there's one on the way now. So, he basically asks the question, like, there are times where I'm just asking myself, does really need to do this? And the answer he gave was great. He just looked at his kids and was like, you mentioned his father. He never got to see his father play professionally because he's the youngest of his siblings, and his dad was retired by the time he was old enough to really know what was going on with his father. And he didn't want that for his kids. He wants his kids to see him playing professionally and have those memories. And I'm like, how do you argue that? How do you argue that? You can't. It's a great answer for that. So, it just, they get into, he tells a story when Milan Hajduk offered him the C to be the captain. That was nice to hear. So that got brought up. You get in with doctor appointments, and the one doctor is happy on how things are progressing. So this episode was the first episode was like maybe a little bit darker because he's going through like some bad times. Yeah. This episode was a little bit more uplifting until the very end.
Yeah.
2 things happened at the end, Kyle. One was just a little bit, just a quick thing, and the other one was the big one, which was the setback. And he tore, the patella tendon. So he had a little bit of tear in the patella tendon, but right before that, he mentioned his dog dies.
Yeah.
The dog dies, Kyle, in a clean sheet. Come on, Gabe. Don't talk about the dog dying, because we're depressed enough, like knowing what you're going through, and then he hits you with the dog dies. Ugh.
It's like Marley and Me.
Killed me. It was, because then they go show the dog.
Yep.
They show the dog, and he's walking with the dog at night. And when he's doing the interview part, he's like, we lost. I think the dog's name was Zoe. He goes, maybe we lost her last year. And you're like, what? That was a left-handed punch. So
Definitely hits you in the feels. And
yeah.
then, it makes the whole situation a little bit more relatable and human, because again, like, we're all social media warriors. Like, we're not there. We're not in the battle. And when you think, oh, he had a setback, you're like, oh, he went up the stairs the wrong way. And no, you see what he's actually doing. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. They interviewed EJ in this one. Stamkos was in it.
Sure.
Are they friendly? I don't know. I mean, I guess.
How dare they?
Conversing with the enemy. How dare you?
Both have about the same production this year.
Yeah, I know. We are going to end on that one, my friend. Wow. But good episode. And so far a good series. So check it out if you have not yet. All right. That is going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow with anything new in Avalanche Nation. Check that one out. But thank you for making this one your first listen of the day. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow, where you are 24 hours closer of Sidney Crosby being with the Colorado Avalanche.
I'd rather have Ovechkin.